Scott and Theo Vanzel to discuss the hottest stories surrounding the footballing world.
Hello, Adam. It's a pleasure to be here, and without further ado, let us commence this podcast.
Indeed, in today's edition of the Football Podcast, we will be covering our predictions for next season's Premier League. So, in first place, we think it will be Liverpool again. If they can continue their momentum from this season, I think this may be the complete glory season, even more than they had this season, and they can dominate the league again.
Absolutely, and I will cover number 2. I'll be covering the even numbers today. And we've actually put in Chelsea. The reason for this is obviously we know to the date on the 19th of August, Chelsea have signed Timo Werner. They've also signed Hakim Ziyech. I think if they can definitely challenge for the Premier League title, if they make these signings, if they can replace Kepa, if they can get a new defender, if they can access Ben Chilwell and Kai Havertz. I mentioned the name Kai Havertz as we speak. Obviously, we know Chelsea have agreed personal terms with the midfielder, and Ben Chilwell seems to be edging closer to a move to Chelsea. So I think if their new signings can perform like we expect them to, they can definitely challenge for the title. Adam, take us on to who we think will finish third.
So, in third place, we've got Man City. You may have been expecting them in the first or second place that we've just mentioned, but we've actually put them in third. They haven't had a stellar season. They haven't met the expectations, such a high bar that they set the previous 2 seasons. And we think that this is probably their last shot of glory before they lose more pillars of the team, like Aguero, because Silva and company have really been key players in the team the last few seasons have already departed. Take us on to number 4, Theo. Feel free.
Okay, so number 4 is the team that finished third last year by the bare margin on goal difference. It's Manchester United, and the only reason why they wouldn't rank higher is because of their defense. It really does let down their incredible, scintillating attack led by Bruno Fernandes. Martial is in the form of his life. Rashford is doing incredible. Greenwood looks like a player for the future. It's just their defense. I think Maguire was a decent signing, but his price tag is just simply too much. 80 million is not. I don't think that's a good price tag for someone who hasn't had as much as the impact that we thought he would. So this is why we put them in fourth. I think if they can make a new signing in the center back position, I think they might finish third. But I think we've put them in fourth for next season. Adam, number 5.
Well, but wait, before we move on, I just wanted to say you were talking about that price tag of 80 million for Maguire. Just for comparison, Virgil van Dijk, who is, I think, indisputably the best defender in the world right now, centre back, was 75 million, and he was called overpriced. So I think they have been a bit robbed here. But I will move swiftly on to 5th place, which is Wolverhampton. Their style of play works wonders against big teams that we've seen their record. But they need to be more confident in dominating the game, which they will find more and more often against smaller teams. And so they really just need a bit more consistency in that department.
Okay, number 6. And this might come as a little bit of a surprise, but for us, not really. I think we've chose Arsenal here. And bear with us. Just hear us out here. First of all, I think keeping Aubameyang was super important to their success. I think keeping him for the next 1-2 seasons, it's going to be really important to set that standard for the younger players such as Saka, Willock, and even Pepe, who I think slightly flopped this season, but he has put in a few goals this season. I think he can only get better at this point. And I think Arteta, like Lampard, has faith in these young players, and I think Pepe is only getting better from this point. So I think Arsenal, they've shown signs of promise, and I think they will next season as well. Which is why we've put them in a Europa League spot, number 6. Adam, take us on to number 7.
Well, in seventh place, we have a team that we do feel they performed well, especially in the first half of the season. They fizzled out towards the end. You may know that who we're talking about. It's Leicester City. I think they are really Europa League quality. As of now, they can improve. On paper, they have a really well-rounded side, but we think that they are by no means world class. Take us away to 8th place, Theo.
Yep. And for many Tottenham fans out there, I'm sure you'd be waiting for your team name to be called. And well, now it has, but unfortunately in 8th place. The reason why I say this is because, like Manchester United, like Chelsea, the defense is just simply not as good as their attack. Their attack is very good. I think top 4 worthy, but their attack is just simply not up to the standard. I just feel like their defense could use a boost. I think Vertonghen is a big loss. So that's why we put them number 8. Adam, number 9.
Well, in 9th place, we've got Burnley. They are a very well-rounded squad. If they can keep Nick Pope, I think that would be essential for them to do well. But I actually think they do have potential, like Wolves have done this season, to upset some big teams.
All right, number 10. Now we've put Sheffield United. I think they won't hit the same heights that they hit last year, even though I think they were very underestimated. Yes, last year they surprised a lot of us. I think, let's face it, they were probably if we were making predictions last year, they probably would have been our number 20 or number 19. But actually, they finished much higher than that, top 10 actually. But we don't think they'll hit the exact same heights. I think it's because they haven't made many signings this year. They don't have that star quality in their team to drive them on into European football.
And moving on to 11, we think it's a similar situation. Besides Richarlison and maybe Lucas Digne, it's a similar situation, lacking star quality, which we will find it will be more apparent in the bottom half of the table. And it's I think Everton, like many other teams down here, definitely a Premier League side, but by no means European competitive.
Definitely, I agree. And I think very similar story for a very similar side. Crystal Palace, again, Zaha kind of carries them here. I feel like they need to make a few signings, perhaps in the midfield, and in the defense. I feel like they need a little bit more star quality, going back rather than forward. If they can make those signings, then maybe they can push for top 10. But for now, we've put them number 12.
And here is our first new championship side. It's Leeds. They came first last season in the championship, right? So, I think though the standard of attacks in the Premier League means that their defense will be punished, but their midfield and attack should keep them up, and they do have a couple of young gems in that side.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to number 14 now. Here we've got Southampton, and we think that Danny Ings will keep them alive. I think his goals, the number of them, again, there's nothing too special about Ings. It's just his quality, his movement, and his finishing. and I mean, I was surprised he wasn't snatched up by Liverpool when he was at the club. But anyway, we're talking about Southampton here, and I feel like Ings is their one star player. They can't really back it up anywhere else. Um, they have made a defensive signing. I can't give you the name right now. I forget, but it was for about £15 million. So for that price tag for a team like them, I think he could be quite the good signing. So they're definitely not going down. They're too good to go down. So that's why we put them 14th place.
Yup. And then we have in 15th place, it's Brighton. I think they, like we've seen with many other teams recently that we've mentioned, they lack the quality, star quality, to come in the top 10, but they are well drilled, and many players are showing very promising signs.
Yep. And one of those is very good signing. McAllister could be a player for the future for them. Now, moving on to number 16. Now, this is an interesting one. This is Newcastle. Obviously, we know that their Saudi Arabian takeover didn't go through due to some issues consisting of their human rights record and also piracy. But we're not here to talk about their takeover. We're here to talk about their football. And when it comes to their football, I think it's pretty average. I don't think they're bad enough to go down. They're not a championship side. They're definitely a Premier League team. I think Joelinton did get his first Premier League goals post lockdown, and that could give him some pretty important confidence going forward. So he could be a pretty good player. Almiron slightly flopped in his first full season at the club, but then again, doesn't change the fact that he's a very good player. So they've got good enough talent to keep them up and keep them alive.
Yep. And in 17th, we have our second championship side. I think they will just about beat the drop. It will be. I think we've seen it. We see it every season. There are a couple of contenders that are really just running away from the drop zone, and I think Fulham will evade it. They've proven their quality in the championship, and hopefully they come back better than they were 2 seasons ago in the Premier League.
Yep. May they have lots of luck this season. And now we move on to the sadder part of this podcast, which is to decide the 3 relegation teams. If you've been ticking off teams, then you'd know which 3 are in the drop now. We're going to start with number 18, though, and it's unfortunately West Ham United. Again, I think they were very lucky to stay up last year. It'll be sad to see them go, but I think the time is right for them to exit the Premier League, and I think they need a bit of time to rebuild. They've lost some key players. Arnautovic was a big loss for them, moving to China. I think that they need to come back, go home, come back better, and I think some time in the championship will be beneficial for them. So, yeah, 18th place to West Ham.
In 19th place, we have West Brom. I think Fulham and Leeds have last season. You could feel that they were Premier League worthy teams, but West Brom, we just don't feel that they're on a level with them. We think that they completely lack the quality to be a Premier League side, and honestly, do belong in the championship.
Yeah. Very much agreed, Adam. And finally, the worst position to be in the Premier League, number unfortunate 20, is going to go to, you guessed it, Aston Villa. Again, very lucky to not go down. Aston Villa were saved by a Grealish strike at the London Stadium just a few minutes before time. I think that, again, like West Ham, some time in the championship will be beneficial for them. Come back stronger. Even if Grealish stays at the club, which is not a certainty, I think they're still not good enough. We were talking about teams that lack star quality. They have 1 star, but the rest is pretty poor actually, rather than average. So Aston Villa, number 20.
Yup, and that does conclude our Premier League predictions. Tell us in the comment section if you agree or not. And I hope you enjoyed it. Any last words, Theo?
If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like on it. If you're new, subscribe, and turn on that notifications bell so you will be notified when we make a new video. So thank you for watching, everybody, and goodbye from me. Goodbye from Adam.
Bye.
See you later, everybody. Thank you. Bye.